Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hi, my name is Kaedhen Bharathae-Lane, and I'm 1/4 of the Great Game Debate podcast, along with my co-panelists Jonah, Wes, and Steven. Hey guys. Instead of focusing on gaming news or what we've been playing, we invite guests from the gaming community on for a series of fun games, including the titular gaming debates. In fact, we recently had Fun and Games podcast's very own Matt Storm on episode 41 to debate if Luigi is a better Mario sidekick than Cappy. So check that out. You can find us on YouTube if you search our channel, Great Game Debate Podcast, and on Twitter at Great Game Debate. That's debate spelled D-E-B, followed by the number 8. We also have a fantastic Discord community that you can find an invite link to in the Twitter bio. The community is always playing multiplayer games and chatting about all kinds of pop culture. And we also do game clubs. We just wrapped up game clubs for Elden Ring and Stray, so come join the fun. Aside from the podcast, I'm also a professional tabletop RPG game master. I primarily run the fan-favorite gothic horror Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition adventure Curse of Strahd for online players from all over the world through startplaying.games. Beginners are welcome, as I'm more than happy to teach you how to play. You can find my Game Master profile at startplaying.games/GM/Kaedhen. That's GM as in Game Master, and Kaedhen is spelled K as in kangaroo, A as in alligator, E as in elephant, D as in dog, H as in hedgehog, E as in elephant, N as in, naked mole rat? Sure. You can also find me on Twitter at Zora Caviar. That's Zora, like the fish people from The Legend of Zelda, and caviar like fish eggs. So, now that we know each other, let me tell you about my favorite hidden gem from the PlayStation 2, a little-known 2005 Tri-Ace developed Japanese RPG called Radiata Stories. You may know Tri-Ace as the developers of the Star Ocean and Valkyrie Profile games. Never heard of Radiata Stories? Well, wait, you have heard of it? What? No, not Radiant Historia. Radiata Stories. Well, I don't blame you. While it was published by Square Enix, I suspect they gave it next to nothing in marketing budget, and it only sold just under 500,000 copies in its lifetime. For comparison, Resident Evil 4 released the same year, and by the end of that year had sold 3 million copies. I myself only stumbled upon it by pure chance sitting on a shelf in a used bookstore a couple of years after it was released, and until I plugged myself into social media a couple of years ago, had never met another human being who had even heard of it, let alone played it. Well, despite its inauspicious beginnings, my relationship with Radiata Stories rapidly blossomed into a full-on obsession. And it wasn't just me. I have 4 brothers, and soon we were all fighting for time on our single PS2 console to continue our adventures in the land of Radiata. We were all mortified when one day one of my brothers accidentally stepped on the PS2 while it was running, causing our copy of the game to become horribly scratched and unplayable. More physical media, more problems, am I right? Luckily, our dad is a techie who supported our video game addiction, and he quickly furnished us with a replacement. Crisis averted. But Kaedhen, I hear you ask, what was it about Radiata Stories that was driving you and your brother so bananas? Well, let me set the stage. Can we dim the lights? Perfect. A beautifully haunting flute and harp begin playing as in the darkness, a light appears. A book glowing in the void. Its pages flip open, inviting you in, and stops on a page depicting a heroic knight clad in silver plate armor, kneeling, exhausted, propping himself up by the blade of a massive greatsword, kneeling as an enormous, serpentine, 2-headed blue dragon whose aqueous bulk surges like a river towards him. Suddenly, the flutes and harps change to the bombastic beats and blasts of drums and horns as the picture in the book comes to life. The water dragon condenses spikes of ice out of the very air that flash at deadly speed towards the knight, who with one swing of his sword releases a cutting blade of wind that slices through the spikes, destroying them before they can touch him. A gemstone embedded in the hilt of his sword suddenly begins glowing as the knight begins sprinting towards the dragon, leaping into the air in one final bid to plunge his sword into the heart of the dragon. Desperately, the dragon unleashes a surging beam of water from its 2 mouths, engulfing the knight. In a flash of light, we see the magic of the knight's sword cutting straight through the beam of water, as the camera zooms in on the knight's eyes, flashing red as he plunges his sword into the heart of the dragon. Oof. I don't know about you, but preteen me was losing my mind. As the scene shifts, we find ourselves, years later, in a simple, quiet cabin as a small fire gently crackles. The camera pans to a young woman in a plain dress standing in front of a small, framed portrait on a shelf. We can see the portrait is of the heroic knight that slew the water dragon. "Well, Mom and Dad," the woman says, "it's almost time. Jack's ready at last." The intimate silence is suddenly broken by a dopey flute melody as the door slams open and a derpy-looking, half-asleep teenager shuffles into the room with his pajamas literally on backwards before demanding, "Hey sis, where's breakfast?" This is our protagonist. That's right, we aren't playing the romantic knight out of legend, we are playing his idiot son, Jack Russell. You heard that right, his name is literally Jack Russell, like the dog. This is where we get our first taste of Radiata Stories' quirky, goofy personality. Jack's sister, Adele, quickly puts on her mom hat and begins berating Jack for forgetting that today is the day of the Royal Radiata Knights selection trials. You see, Jack is the son of Sir Cairn, one of the most famous and decorated Radiata Knights in living memory, who single-handedly defeated the water dragon Kelvin. In Sir Cairn's time, the humans of the Kingdom of Radiata were at war with all of the non-humans of the world, elves, dwarves, goblins, and orcs. By defeating the water dragon Kelvin, Sir Cairn struck a devastating blow to the non-humans, which resulted in a truce between the humans and the non-humans and a subsequent period of tenuous peace. Now, our hero, Jack Russell, is of age to participate in the Knights Selection Trials, a trial by combat where entrants face each other in a series of one-on-one battles to earn the right to become a knight trainee and join one of the many knight brigades where they will go on to protect and bring glory to the realm of Radiata. During the selection trials, Jack is matched with one Ridley Silverlake, a green-eyed blonde teen with a big axe and a mean stare. Unlike Jack, who has been shirking his training expecting to glide through the selection trials on the strength of his father's coattails alone, Ridley has been training rigorously ever since she was big enough to hold an axe, eager to prove herself as a capable warrior and to get out from under the oppressive overprotectiveness of her sniveling, scheming father, Lord Jasnay, a high-ranking noble in the court of Radiata. Well, needless to say, when Ridley and Jack face off in the selection trials, Ridley absolutely kicks Jack's ass. On the strength of her skill alone, Ridley is chosen as the clear winner of the selection trials. But the commander of the Radiata Knights, and judge of the selection trials, a shrewd, bespectacled man named Larks, declares that there will be one other winner. Any guesses? Yep, Jack Russell. Jack cannot believe it, overjoyed to be joining the Knights, while everyone else, especially Ridley, is totally pissed that Commander Larks is so obviously showing Jack favoritism just because he is the son of the legendary dragon slayer Sir Cairn. Now, I know all of this paints Jack in a bad light, but honestly, he is a lovable character. Although being his father's son opens many doors for him, and he perhaps doesn't train as hard as he should, he genuinely is passionate about joining the Knights and going on missions to protect the kingdom and test his might, however overestimated, against strong foes. The name Jack Russell is perfect after all because he acts just like an overexcited, overconfident puppy. So, of course, for maximum drama, Ridley and Jack are both placed in the same Knight Brigade, the Rose Kashan Brigade to be specific. The name Rose Kashan means the pride of the Knights and their unswerving devotion to the kingdom. How exactly, you might ask? Well, Rose is like pride and Kashan is the loyalty to country bit. At least, that's what the commander of the Rose Kashan Brigade, Gans Rothschild, would tell you, but you can tell he actually has no idea what Rose Kashan means. For the record, it means pink pig. This conversation is really the perfect example of Gans in a nutshell. He means well and has a heart of gold, but he is woefully inept at everything he does. In fact, despite being the son of Sir Cairn's close friend and rival, Sir Gawain Rothschild, a knight of equal skill and renown to Sir Cairn, Gans is a disgraced knight in command of the lowest-ranking knight brigade in the kingdom. And with that, we have our setup. Jack Russell, the overconfident, untrained son of the most famous and decorated knight to ever live, and Ridley Silverlake, the talented and arrogant daughter of an overprotective noble, must learn to work together under the command of Gans Rothschild, the least useful knight in the entire kingdom and the disgraced son of the second most famous and decorated knight to ever live. It's really a fantastic recipe for some great character development. Jack and Gans must come to terms with the weight of expectations placed upon them by their father's legacy. Jack and Ridley must overcome their own rivalry and learn to respect one another. And Gans must balance protecting Ridley with trusting her to take care of herself. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention Clive. As part of an initiative to foster understanding and cooperation, the Radiata Knights will often work with representatives of many other guilds in the city of Radiata. One such guild is a religious outfit known as the Olassian Order. Clive is a priest with the Olassian Order that has been sent to assist the Rose Kashan Brigade on their first mission to deliver a letter from the king to the leader of the dwarves. Clive is new to his order, and in his own words, he "can't do nothing yet. I can eat and sleep is all." True to his word, Clive is, well, next to useless in actual combat. But Clive does serve one important purpose. He introduces the friends system to the player. You see, at a certain point in the game, you become the leader of your own squadron, and it's up to you who you want to include in your party. Who you can include in your party can be, well, anyone. I'm not kidding, you can literally recruit any NPC in the game into your party. Okay, well, not every NPC, but almost every NPC. From slingshot-wielding children to tree-trunk-swinging giant orcs, healers from the Olassian Order to wizards from the Vareth Magic Institute. There's about 150 to recruit. Eat your heart out, Suikoden. This is the real hook of the game. You know how before The Witcher 3 came out, CD Projekt Red was like, every person in the game was alive and led a life and had a routine. But then when the game came out, the NPCs just kind of spawn in and out and walk into walls and crap like that. Well, every NPC in Radiata Stories actually does have a routine that they follow every hour of every day. And it did it in 2005. So, in order to recruit an NPC, you have to follow them all day, talking to them, seeing what they get up to, until you uncover their problem. Because we all have problems, right? If you could solve their problem, they will become your friend, and then you can put them in your party. Some of my favorites include the warrior who dropped his contact lens down the sink drain, requiring you to fight through slimes and the sewers under the city to get it back for him. And another is the antisocial fighter whose mom, the owner of the local hotel, asks you just to talk to him every day until he slowly lets down his wall and lets you be his friend. So wholesome. Of particular interest are faction leaders, meaning the leaders of the 4 local guilds, along with the leaders of each of the non-human races. If you successfully recruit every single member of a particular faction, then that faction's leader will become your friend. And these suckers are powerful. Take, for example, Elwyn, the leader of Theodore Van Cor, the local warriors guild. She is a peerless swordswoman clad in golden full plate and bearing a unique magical sword with a blade of holy fire capable of killing some bosses in one hit with her Volti Blast, this game's version of Limit Breaks. In addition to fighting alongside you, friends also possess unique passive skills that do things like increasing a particular stat, making you immune to a particular negative status effect, or making you immune to flinching when enemies hit you. By fighting alongside friends, you eventually inherit their skills. So, there's ample reason to recruit and swap out friends throughout the game. On top of that, Radiata Stories features a unique system to command your party called links. Links allow your party to take on formations with various benefits, such as the Circle Link, which allows the party to guard from all directions and passively regenerate hit points, and my personal favorite, the Kamikaze Link, which causes your party members to dogpile an enemy and promptly explode in a ball of fire. However, the true value of links lies in their ability to allow all party members to share their skills, so you can come up with the perfect defense against whatever foes you face. Fire-breathing dragon? Share immunity to the burn debuff with the entire party by linking. You also possess the ability to give individual party members orders, some of which can only be carried out by friends of a specific race, such as Goblin Song, which fully heals a party member if it is a goblin, encouraging you to experiment with different party compositions. But my favorite thing about the combat is the combo system. Each of the 4 weapon types, swords, greatswords, axes, and spears, have different attacks, and you can unlock more attacks for a weapon type by using it in battle. Then the game allows you to design your own combos for your weapons by chaining together any of the attacks you've unlocked in any order. With so many combinations of friends, skills, weapons, combos, orders, and links, the real-time combat system is endlessly addictive and, I dare say, ahead of its time. Did I mention the kicking yet? This game has a dedicated button allowing Jack to deliver short, sharp kicks to the shin of anyone or anything stupid enough to cross his path. Rocks, grass, trees, trash cans, desks, chairs, you name it and you can kick it, often yielding money or items. You can also literally fight anyone in the game by kicking them. Some are more reluctant than others, requiring 2 or even 3 kicks, but if there's one thing we aren't in short supply of, it's kicks. So kick them 3 times if it takes, and they will take the bait, triggering a one-on-one duel. If you win, many people drop money and useful or even unique items, even ones that permanently boost your stats. Furthermore, some people will even become your friend after defeating them in a duel. Sometimes a swift kick in the behind is exactly what we need. Well, listen, I'm running out of time here, and I could go on for another hour, but just know Radiata Stories also has a banger soundtrack that spans multiple genres and is easily one of the game's best features and one of my personal favorite original soundtracks of all time. Just look up the Castletown's theme, Song of the Freedom Fighters, and its jazzy keys and trumpets will tell you all you need to know. To complement the music is a fantastic story that features an important choice at the halfway mark, making you choose one side in a world-ending conflict, resulting in a back half of the game that is completely different than if you had chosen the other route, featuring unique quests, story, and even party members, giving the game amazing replay value when you hit New Game Plus. Yes, this game also has New Game Plus. But before you start the adventure over, there's not one, but 2 post-game super dungeons featuring super bosses from Trias' other properties, such as Lilith herself from Valkyrie Profile, who joins your party if you defeat her. All this post-game content is of course free and included on the disc, as this was the pre-DLC age. Radiata Stories truly is the total package. So, Kaedhen, I hear you ask. How can I play this game? Well, I've got some bad news. Unfortunately, if you aren't a PC gamer with the ability to emulate, Radiata Stories is sadly unavailable on modern platforms. Although Square Enix's current spree of ports does give me a little hope. However, I'm not alone. There are dozens of us. I'd like to give a special shout out to one of those dozens in particular. One, Eli Farmer, the man behind the Revive Radiata initiative. He has a Twitter at Revive Radiata, where he posts and retweets Radiata Stories content and fan art from the community, and is also responsible for a petition to have the game ported to modern platforms that currently has over 5,000 signatures. You can find that petition at change.org/Revive Radiata. If you'd sign it, I'd be eternally grateful. Well, that's all for me, folks. I'd like to thank you for your time, and thanks to Matt and Jeff for allowing me to use their fantastic podcast to extol the virtues of Radiata Stories. Happy gaming!
Have you ever sat on a long commute or a dull day in the office and let your mind wander back to the days of rectangle pizza, bowls and bowls of sugar cereal, and gushing over your favorite cartoons and movies in school, and worry that those favorites from childhood won't hold up today? Well, the Saturday Morning Confidential podcast answers those questions for you. Host Maddie Limerick sits down with artists and creators of today to pull back the veil of nostalgia to talk about what's great and what we would change in hindsight years later. So pull on your comfiest PJs, pour yourself a bowl of your favorite cereal, and take a deep dive into the files of Saturday Morning Confidential. Releasing bi-weekly on Saturdays, available on your favorite podcast platforms and at certainpov.com.
CPOV.
certainpov.com.